Hello and welcome back to day 22 of Buzztober. Today what we're going to be reading about is I found this article that is entitled 5 Short Ghost Horror Stories That Will Scare the Life Out of You. And when I clicked on the website, the background is terrifying, so it looks pretty scary. So if this is your first episode tuning in, you are in luck because you've got 21 more episodes that you can watch or listen to, depending on if you're watching this on YouTube or listening to it on Spotify or Apple Podcasts or there's like a couple more that I can't remember that the podcasts are on, but like the audio version. But yeah, so you've got a couple episodes that you can listen to, not a couple, 21, I literally just said that. And you still have 9 episodes left for the month that you can listen to after this. I usually talk about what I'm wearing and what I'm drinking. I'm super fucking boring today with what I'm drinking. It's the middle of the day. I can't have alcohol yet. I have way too much to do. The fact that I'm even squeezing this in is kind of a miracle right now, but it's just sparkling water, dull as hell. I apologize. We'll have a fun drink sometime soon. So that's what I'm drinking. And my sweater is from somewhere on Etsy. They're Roman numerals for the anniversary of when my husband and I got married, December 31st, 2022. So, in case you were wondering, I don't know if you care about that stuff or not, but okay, so let's go ahead and dive in. I want to see how scary these actually are because the website picture is quite scary. Okay, so the first one is The Puppy in the Basement. Oh God, okay. This short ghost story found on Reddit is super creepy. Mommy told me never to go into the basement, but I wanted to see what was making that noise. It kind of sounded like a puppy, and I wanted to see the puppy, so I opened the basement door and tiptoed down a bit. I didn't see a puppy. And then Mommy yanked me out of the basement and yelled at me. Mommy had never yelled at me before, and it made me sad, so I cried. Then Mommy told me never to go into the basement again, and she gave me a cookie. That makes me feel better. So I didn't ask her why the boy in the basement was making noises like a puppy, or why he had no hands or feet. Oh, that kind of fucked me up right now. Oh, I don't like it. I don't like it. It's giving Tusk. Have you guys ever seen that movie? Oh my God. You want to talk about a messed up movie? It's A24, which A24 does just such a great job of like really messing with your head with a lot of the movies that they produce. And this one in particular, Justin Long is in it. But be warned, it is messed up. It is a weird fucking movie, but if you're looking for something super weird and kind of sci-fi-ish, like sci-fi vibes, you know, gross and weird and bizarre, and yeah. But anyway, so this next one written in is called Nunchucks. It looks like this one was written in by someone named Michelle Froelich Young. And this one reads, when my daughter was 2, I found her twirling paper towel tubes tied with twine in the air. I asked her what she was doing. She said she was practicing her nunchucks. I was very confused as she'd have no way of knowing what they were. I asked her what she meant, and she said that Adam had told her how to make them and showed her each night how to use them. She went on to say that Adam told her to practice because she may need to know how to defend herself someday. I almost freaked out, but asked her what Adam looked like. She said he was tall, blonde, and had blue eyes. She said, Mommy, you know how he looks. You know him. He died of a headache. I had to leave the room. You see, 4 months before she was born, my tall, blonde, blue-eyed martial arts pro friend had died of a brain aneurysm at the age of 27. She had not spoken of him since that day, so I'm not sure if I scared her with my reaction or if she had completed her lessons. Also, okay, I'm like questioning this one because like 2-year-olds can talk most of the time, but this is a lot of explaining for a 2-year-old to be saying. I'm sure maybe the person who wrote this maybe was like, well, it sounded like this, possibly, because this is like very much dialogue that you would hear from like a child, but not like a 2-year-old child. Okay, anyway. Okay, this next one is, there's someone under the bed. Oh. I'm so scared of stories like that. I don't know why. I wonder what caused me to have a fright over that concept. But a lot of us were like that. So there must be some movie out there or something that made us all scared as kids that something was gonna be under our bed. Okay, and this one reads, so they kind of give an explanation beforehand. Sometimes the very short ghost stories are the best. And this tale from Reddit via BuzzFeed tells the story of a father putting his young son to bed. This is really short. I begin tucking him into bed and he tells me, Daddy, check for monsters under my bed. I look underneath for his amusement and see him, another him, under the bed, staring back at me and quivering and whispering, Daddy, there's somebody on my bed. Oh, I hated that. Oh my God. Oh, I hated that. Oh, okay, all right. Okay, so here's number 4. This one is entitled The Chair. This short tale starts benignly enough, with a friendly seeming ghost playing with children, but when you learn the origins of the ghost and just why the ghost is moving the object around the room, it quickly gets a lot creepier. This one was submitted into Reddit by Scoop Whoop. Scoop Whoop? And it reads, when my sister Betsy and I were kids, our family lived for a while in a charming old farmhouse. We loved exploring its dusty corners and climbing the apple tree in the backyard. But our favorite thing was the ghost. We called her Mother because she seemed so kind and nurturing. Some mornings, Betsy and I would wake up, and on each of our nightstands, we'd find a cup that hadn't been there the night before. Mother had left them there and worried that we'd get thirsty that night. She just wanted to take care of us. Among the home's original furnishings was an antique wooden chair, which we kept against the back wall of the living room. Whenever we were preoccupied watching TV or playing a game, Mother would inch that chair forward across the room toward us. God, this is terrifying. I hate it. Sometimes she'd manage to move it all the way to the center of the room. We always felt sad putting it back against the wall. Mother just wanted to be near us. I'd found an old newspaper article about the farmhouse's original occupant, a widow. She'd murdered her 2 children by giving them each a cup of poisoned milk before bed. Then she hung herself. Oh, that's so sad. The article included a photo of the farmhouse's living room with the woman's body hanging from a beam. Beneath her, knocked over, was that old wooden chair, placed exactly in the center of the room. That was a lot. Okay, let's keep going. The ghost at home. And the description is, in one of my favorite short ghost stories, a man thinks he loses his phone and someone is playing a trick on him. Turns out there is someone playing with him, but it's a ghoul rather than a person. And this was submitted via Reddit by BuzzFeed. Last night, a friend rushed me out of the house to catch the opening act at a local bar's music night. After a few drinks, I realized my phone wasn't in my pocket. I checked the table we were sitting at, the bar, the bathrooms, and after no luck, I used my friend's phone to call mine. After 2 rings, someone answered, gave out a low, raspy giggle, and hung up. They didn't answer again. I eventually gave it up as a lost cause and headed home. I found my phone laying on my nightstand right where I left it. I hated that. That was quite scary. Okay, I'm going to keep moving on. Ooh, okay, so the next part of this article is a bunch of like 2-sentence horror stories. So if you've listened in the past, Buzztober, I did it in 2019 and 2020. I think in 2020 was the year that at every episode I did like 1 2-sentence horror story. And the cool concept behind it is that it can create a story and inhibit fear without having to go past 2 sentences. It's quite impressive when done well. Like one of the popular ones was like, look left, look right, and look down. Look around the corner, look around the closet, etc. But don't look up. She hates when you look up. And that one always, that was a good one. I remember the first time I read it, it really freaked me out. I'm not, there's a, like, I guess I could just look up the story, but Google it. Okay, so super short ghost stories. So these are all 2-sentence horror stories or just super short ghost stories. Mommy, the man at the top of the stairs said you should leave. Fuck. I hate that. I hate that. I woke up to hear knocking on glass. At first, I thought it was the window until I heard it come from the mirror. Okay, yeah, that's pretty scary. All right, so this next one says, and this is the last one on his list for short, scary stories. There's nothing like the laughter of a baby, unless it's 1 a.m. and you're home alone. I'm home alone right now. I'm home alone tonight. I'm not doing well with these. For some reason, these are really freaking me out today. Yeah, okay, that was fun, but it wasn't very long, so I'm gonna try to squeeze in another story for us. Let's find another one. Oh, I love this story. Okay, so I have read this one 2 years ago, and I love it. It is one of my favorites. I'm gonna read it again, because if you didn't listen 2 years ago, you get to hear it now. I said I would repeat my stories a couple times in terms of the past years, and it's been a while. And so this one is entitled, this is like a not true story. This is a No Sleep Reddit story. And this one's entitled, My Sugar Daddy Asks Me for Weird Favors. And it's written in by EAPATBP. His Tinder profile said he was 45, but he looked to be in his early 30s at most. Looking for a sugar baby, $700 weekly, no sex. It sounded too good to be true. But as a broke university student, I was willing to take my chances. I swiped right, and Tinder let me know it was a match. His message came seconds later. Hey there, sweetheart. I cringed at that word. I hated it. But $700 was $700, so I sucked it up and replied, Hey, winky face. His name was Jack, and he told me he owned his own business, although he never specified what kind of business it was. We talked for a while before he asked me for my Venmo to send me the first payment. After a few minutes, I got the notification. I stared at the $700 for at least 20 minutes, expecting to wake up from a dream at any second, but it wasn't a dream. You still there? I clicked on the message. Yeah, sorry. If you don't mind me asking, what are you looking for in return? I stared at the chat until he replied. I'm just looking for you to do a few favors for me. That sounded like it was going to be sexual to me. Like what? For example, the first thing I need you to do is pick up a delivery for me. That sounded innocent enough, but I was still expecting there to be some kind of twist. $700 to pick up a package? Come on, even I wasn't that naive. From the post office or something? No, I'll send the address, but I'd rather not do this through Tinder. You got a Kick, or can you give me your number? Kick? What was this, 2011? I decided to give him my number instead, and he texted me the address immediately, followed by the address to his house, where I would have to drop off the package. I'm not home right now, but there's a key at the bottom of the blue flower pot near the door. Go inside and put the package on the coffee table in the living room. Make sure that you lock the door when you go inside the house, and then lock it again when you leave. I grabbed my car keys and wallet and got into my car, putting the address into Google Maps. Got it, on my way. My phone buzzed as I backed out of the driveway. I'm serious. Lock the door both times, please. I thought it was a little excessive, but I promised him that I would. The house looked abandoned. It had a broken chain link fence around it, with a small door that was hanging on to dear life. It stuck out like a sore thumb, surrounded by houses that were a lot nicer than this one in comparison. You here for Jack's shit? I looked up to see a man standing in the open doorway of the house. He took up almost the entire space, his head skimming the top of the doorframe. He was huge, in height and muscles, and his entire torso was covered in tattoos. Yeah, I guess, I replied, not moving from my spot on the sidewalk. Stay right there, he said. I did. I actually don't think I would have moved if he asked me to. I looked around and realized that there was no one else on the street. I was a 21-year-old woman alone in the street. I gripped my car keys. A few minutes later, the man came back out carrying a cardboard box. It was about the size of a shoebox, but stained and damp on some of the corners. I opened the trunk, not wanting that inside on my car seats, and he set it in. All right, there you go, he said. Thanks, I replied. I walked around to the driver's side of the car and opened the door. Oh, and one more thing, he said. I looked at him. Watch out, he said. I didn't reply. I blasted my music as I drove to Jack's house, hoping it would drown out my anxiety. It didn't. I parked my car in the stone driveway and stayed inside the car, admiring the house. It was a huge house, with stone pillars on the front porch and the greenest grass I'd ever seen in my life. I turned the car off and got out. I grabbed the package and walked to the front door, getting the key from where he said it would be. I opened the door and stepped in, closing it behind me. I thought about what he said, about locking the door when I got inside. I thought that was a little overboard, but as I stared at the closed door, something made me reach out and lock it. I walked inside, my feet cushioned by thick maroon carpet, and admired the inside of this house. All the furniture was wooden and looked incredibly expensive. I would probably finish school a dozen times with the money that it took to furnish this place. I set the package down on the coffee table, and as I walked back to the door, I heard a phone ringing from somewhere inside the house. I froze. In my pocket, my phone buzzed. I took it out to look. Don't answer any calls that aren't from Marvin. I put my phone back and followed the sound of the phone, poking my head into a few different rooms before I found it in an office. I walked over to the desk and looked at the caller ID. Incoming call from Jack. That was odd. I grabbed my phone to look at the message again. I was starting to get a little bit creeped out and decided I wouldn't answer, just to be safe. And I left the house, remembering to lock the door as I left. I've done a few more favors for Jack since then. I drove a BMW to a random park in another city, only to get out and drive a different car back to Jack's house. He had me meet one of his employees at lunch, who then gave me a briefcase to deliver to the first house I had gone to, and told me he would know if I looked inside. On several occasions, he asked me to drive down to that same house and stay with the guy, whose name was Julio, for a certain amount of time. In total, I've made around $3,500. Most recently, Jack asked me to stay at his house overnight. I woke up to a text message from him. I need you to spend the night at my house. I hadn't ever seen him in person, but I talked to him on the phone a few times. He proceeded to tell me that he would pay me $1,000 to spend the night at his house, provided that I followed a few rules. I drove to his house that evening. The driveway was empty, and it normally was, but the porch light was on. I walked up, unlocked the door, went inside, and locked it again. Everything in the house looked the same. Jack told me over the phone that he would leave the list of rules on the dining room table. I set all my stuff down in the living room. My bags looked like garbage compared to the fancy furniture in there. I wandered into the kitchen, and then the dining room. Sure enough, there was a piece of paper on the wooden table, held down by an empty glass. Lock the door when you come in. Only answer calls from Marvin. Don't turn on any faucets between 9 p.m. and 11 p.m. Don't open the door for anyone, no matter who they say they are, after 10 p.m. If the door to the closet at the end of the hall is open, sleep in the library. If closed, sleep in any of the bedrooms. The gardener comes at midnight. If he starts knocking on the windows, hide. Turn on the TV and let it play on static through the night. Do not forget to do this. Help yourself to anything in the fridge. I'll pay you in the morning. Good night. I made sure to follow all the rules. To be honest, I was regretting my decision. But seeing as I was already here and I was already getting paid, I decided to stay anyway. I figured as long as I followed all the rules, I'd be perfectly fine. Still, it felt a little odd. What was this? A haunted house? Nevertheless, I lounged around the house for a few hours, and I was planning to go to sleep around 9, since that's the time all the weird shit would begin to happen. At 8:50, I brushed my teeth, used the faucet for the last time, before 9. I checked the closet in the hallway, and upon seeing that it was open, I moved my stuff into the library and got ready to sleep on the couch. I locked the door just in case and laid on the couch, scrolling through my phone. I hadn't gotten any more messages from Jack, and I started to think up scenarios and reasons as to why he had such strict, peculiar sets of rules in the house. I had dozed off at some point because at exactly 10:16 p.m., I was woken up by the doorbell ringing. I was about to get up and check, but then I remembered the rule. Don't open the door for anyone, no matter who they say they are, after 10 p.m. I stayed on the couch trying not to move, paranoid that they would hear even the slightest sound. It's the police, open up. I didn't move. Hello, it's the police, open up or we're coming in. I still didn't move, but I could hear my heartbeat in my ears. There was silence for a while after that. Then the doorbell rang again. Hey, it's Jack, let me in. It sounded like Jack, but still, I didn't get up. He would have a key, wouldn't he? Why would he need me to let him in? This continued for almost a full hour. Different people would ring the doorbell, announce themselves, and then disappear when I didn't respond. I was finally able to fall asleep, and the gardener never came. When I woke up the next morning, I heard someone in the kitchen. I got up slowly and unlocked the door as quietly as possible, taking my phone with me and walking across the living room and into the kitchen. I stopped at the entrance and peered in. It was Jack. He was standing in front of the stove, stirring something as the coffee machine brewed coffee on the counter behind him. Hey, good morning, he said when he saw me. Hi, I replied, nervous. I hadn't seen him in person before, but he looked exactly like his pictures online. Scrambled eggs, he asked, motioning to the pan with a wooden spoon. Yeah, thanks, I replied, walking over to take the plate from him. I ate my breakfast and drank some coffee in silence. So how was it? He asked. It was okay. Nothing super freaky happened, I replied. Cool, he replied. There was an awkwardness in the room. I think I'm gonna go now. I have class, I trailed off. I didn't, but I really wanted to get out of there. Oh no, yeah, sure. I'll talk to you some other time, he replied. I grabbed my stuff and he walked me to my car. I could see him standing in the driveway staring at me as I left. When I got home, I unpacked all my stuff and noticed I still had the list with me. I sat on my bed and read it again. I felt my body tense up as I realized that I had forgotten something. Turn on the TV and let it play on static through the night. Do not forget to do this. Turn on the TV and let it play on static through the night. Do not forget to do this. Do not forget to do this. I stared at the words on the page until they lost meaning. Beside me, my phone buzzed, snapping me back to reality. It was the $1,000 payment. I looked at my phone and back at the list. Maybe it wasn't an important step? As I was thinking this over, a text from Jack came. I'm not in town right now. I should be back next week, so you're free from running any more errands for me until then. Just sent the payment. Go do something fun. I stared at the message and read it again, and once more for good measure. I'm not in town right now. I thought back to this morning and how Jack was in his house, how he gave me breakfast. I'm not in town right now. Within minutes, a new text came in, this time from a number I didn't recognize. Did you forget to do something? Winky face. The text was followed by a picture of Jack, or whoever this version of Jack was, standing in front of the TV. I didn't respond. Next came another picture. This one was outside of my house. It was followed by another text. Watch out. I don't know why I love that story so much. It's like so fun. I don't know why. Like I don't know. I think it's dope as hell. I hope you guys liked it, and I'm sorry if you've already heard it before, but maybe you just needed to hear it again because it's such a good one. I've read it like many times. It's just a good, I don't know why. Like it's campy kinda. You don't really know what the hell is going on, so it's very like ominous and everything. But anyway, I think I'm gonna wrap up there for this episode, and